speaker for today. I barely was able to take him because he was hacking. He's a serial hacker, serial hackathon winner, founder of ETH Limone.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrea, for the intro. Wow. So, am I supposed to click to show the slide? Or what? No. Oh yeah, now you see it. So, hello everybody, I'm Limone, and I'm a serial hacker. As Andrea said, I'm co-founder of Urbe.eth and ETH, the community for Web3 builder in the capital of Italy. I love to travel around hackathons. Been to like 10 of them, won most of them. Sometimes I DJ and I love Farcaster. That's why today I wanted to talk about social media protocols, so like decentralized social networks and why decentralization matters in this space. I will start from some centralized examples, going through the Fediverse, which is a trade-off between centralization and decentralization, and then showing also you the decentralized, main decentralized social networks out there. So, yeah, it works. What are like the key components of a social network, first of all? We have the namespace, meaning my username, my display name, let's say, everything that identifies me on a network. There's the network, of course, that is the social graph connecting me with content and people I interact with. The database, that is the place where everything is stored on the social network. The protocol that defines how users can interact with each other. The platform is the way in which users can interact with the protocol, so just clicking buttons, inputting, entering text, whatever. And then there's a set of rules that defines how the algorithm for the feed works, or some forbidden actions, things that you can do or you cannot. And yeah, that's pretty much it. The problem with the centralized, where I need to, okay. The problem with centralized social network is that all of these key components that I just mentioned are owned by the company that controls the social network itself, so like the platform. Think about our friend here, Elon Musk, and Twitter and X, of course. He owns the namespace, the network, the database, the protocol, the platform, and the rule set. This means that, I mean, maybe you know already, when he took over Twitter, he changed a lot of things in the company, not only for users, but also for developers, for example. Like they changed the API policy, meaning that maybe there's more like rate limitation or certain data that can be extracted from the network or not. And this, of course, is not only related to Twitter, but it's related to all the centralized social networks out there. There can be Instagram, Facebook, or Reddit, all this kind of stuff. And of course, it's not ideal. Recent example, of course, is the rebranding from the Twitter to X, because this shows you what a centralized social network can do to your like identity or whatever. There was this guy owning the X handle on Twitter, and of course, when they changed the name, they claimed the handle from the guy, even if he didn't want to. So he was forced to change his handle, and that's also a letter that they sent him. I think they gifted him a Tesla in the end, but it's bad that somebody can claim my username. The other thing with centralized social networks is that they are walled gardens, meaning that if any of these rules changes and I don't like them, there's not much that I can do with it, because, okay, I don't like Twitter, maybe I want to move my identity on Reddit. I need to restart again on Reddit, building my social graph, building my following, creating my content, whatever, because there's no easy way in which you can export this data from one social network to the other. They are silos, closed silos. So you don't really own your social graph, and you can't escape. So that's why I think that we should strive and build and use more open protocols rather than using platforms that locks us in their silos again. But that said, even open protocols are not immune to centralization. Think about the web, HTTP, TCP, or SMTP, the protocol for sending emails. They are open protocols. There are many clients built on top of them. Think about Gmail, Yahoo, or Outlook. Those are all alternatives and options that you can use to send email to your colleagues. But you know already that there's some sort of centralization on the side because most of the people use Gmail in this case, or most of the people use Chrome with respect to Internet Explorer. But at least you're allowed to switch between competing clients according to your preference. And so I can send an email from my Gmail account to your Outlook account, and because everything is running on an open protocol. Going forward with the spectrum of decentralization, we have the Fediverse. Does anybody have heard about Mastodon here? Some people, yeah. So Mastodon is the main example of the Fediverse out there. It's built on top of the ActivityPub protocol that defines some rules in which clients and servers can communicate in the network. And it has some pros and cons with respect to what we've seen with decentralized examples. Okay. The cool things about the Fediverse is that there's a diverse server ecosystem, meaning that individuals can run their own instances, their own servers, with specific rules or content that they want to have. It's possible somehow to migrate your following between servers. Not that easy, but you can. And then there's community control, so there's not a single company that is controlling the whole network. It's each single individual controlling their own server, so there's more space to express yourselves. But there are also some bad things about the Fediverse. So centralization tendencies, because users, not everybody knows and wants to host an instance. So what happens is that most of the users end up using 1, 2, 3, or like the most popular instances out there dedicated to specific topics. Communication silos, because admins of instances can prevent others to use their own servers. Privacy concerns, because there's no end-to-end encryption, and also your data is managed by some hobbyists around the world. So it's no more Elon Musk controlling your database, but it's maybe my friend at his place storing my data, and I don't know if he has some security breaches or whatever. And then, of course, I already mentioned some self-hosting challenges, meaning that it's not that easy to host an instance of a server on the ActivityPub protocol, for example. There are other examples that I won't cover because there's not much time, but Blue Skies is very similar to the ActivityPub protocol, and then there's Nostr, which is very like niche in the hacker community, where there are not even usernames and they use public keys to communicate with each other. And now let's go on-chain. So the main examples of social networks built on-chain that have some components that are decentralized are Farcaster and Lens. Those are like two decentralized social networks that use two different approaches to achieve decentralization. Farcaster claims to be sufficiently decentralized, meaning that not everything is on-chain, only what's needed, while Lens took the other path, that everything is decentralized, everything is on-chain. Think about the content, the follows, the likes. Every interaction is an NFT tied to your wallet on Polygon. On Farcaster, for example, you have an annual fee to pay in order to register your handle. You have a unique FID, and the content is stored on a peer-to-peer network similar to BitTorrent. So there's no consensus on that side. It's just a distributed network of hubs synchronizing with each other. While on Lens, you have a one-time handle creation because it's an NFT tied to your wallet. It uses public keys again for identification, and everything is stored on-chain on Polygon and on an L3 called Momoka. A little bit about Lens. So I already said like most of the things, but maybe the thing that I wanted to highlight is that it's very creator-oriented. They allow you to extend your profile with NFTs or custom modules that you can plug in for monetization and this kind of stuff. Again, like it's fully decentralized. Everything is running on chain, so you have like total control over everything that you do in the network, but it's also not that efficient because the blockchain is not an efficient system, especially for storing data. Going over with Farcaster, again, Farcaster claims to be a sufficiently decentralized social network, meaning that there's the identity layer, meaning your ID and your username running on chain. It's stored on a smart contract on Optimism tied to your address. And everything else, the social graph, the content, the followings, the likes, your reactions, whatever, it's running on a peer-to-peer network off-chain that is synchronized with the Delta graphs. Usernames are readable, very similar to Twitter, and yeah, data is decentralized. What does it mean, sufficient decentralization, which is one of the most interesting concepts brought in by the Farcaster team, I think. So a social network achieves sufficient decentralization if two users can find each other and communicate even if the rest of the network wants to prevent it. How can you achieve this? There are three key properties that you need to achieve sufficient decentralization. Users must always be able to claim unique usernames, meaning that if I'm Limone.eth, nobody else can claim that username. Users must always be able to post messages under that username, so there should be nobody preventing me in posting stuff to the network with my username. And I need to always be able to read messages from any other valid usernames. If we achieve these three properties, you have a sufficient decentralized social network that it's somewhat cool because it's a good trade-off between centralization, decentralization, security, and user experience, let's say. So how does it work? When you create an account on Farcaster, you register a new entry in the registry, you claim a username, and you are assigned with a unique ID, which is an incremental number. Each message running in the network is signed by my public-private key pair, meaning that everything is authenticated so that data stored around the network, we are sure that it's being published by specific actors because of the signatures. And this data that I'm mentioning is stored in hubs. You can think of hubs, again, as BitTorrent nodes. Hubs are open source, and there are like more than 200 now that people are running. And they don't need to to achieve consensus with anything like proof of work or proof of stake. It's just eventual consistency that is a property known in the distributed system space. Then what happens? Like to build on Farcaster, you can create client hubs, data availability layers, whatever, that connect to the hubs and allow you to fetch the data, and you can create customized experiences. Farcaster IDs and names already mentioned. They are also integrated with ENS. So if you have an ENS on Farcaster, you can use it as your own username instead of claiming a new one. And again, on-chain, that's only what's needed. So Farcaster is not X on the blockchain. The only part that lives of the protocol on-chain is the identity layer, messages, media posts, everything else is running off-chain. And I think this is cool because the blockchain is a pool storage mechanism for data for two main reasons. It's immutable, and I don't think that content on social networks should be immutable. And it's also bandwidth limited, meaning that if every time I need to post, I need to sign a transaction, I need to pay for gas fees, it's not scalable. And this is how it works. So this is the architecture. You've seen here the on-chain stuff, the ID registry, storage registry, and key registry running on Optimism. The off-chain network of hubs that are storing all the social graph, all the data. And then here on the application layer, you have some backends that are servers reading data, exposing APIs from the apps, and client apps that can be mobile things or laptop, desktop that are reading data from this backend. This is an easier and simplified version. So you have Optimism here for accounts, ENS usernames, Hubball is the open source library for implementing Farcaster apps, and here you have a bunch of applications. Gem, WordCast is the main one, and many others. Why blockchain? Again, and why not using a MySQL database for the registry of the names? Because blockchains are distributed and ownerless, so no single actor can modify, own, or control the smart contract that records the namespace. Getting back to the initial example of the X usernames being claimed by Elon Musk, in this case, you are the only owner of your username, so nobody can revoke that from you. And the cool thing about blockchains and distributed systems is that they are also permissionless and public, meaning that you don't need an API key to build on that, to read the data, to update the state. You can do it without asking permission to anybody, and that's where the innovation comes. And yeah, so just to recap a little bit, why decentralized socials? Because of account ownership, you have non-custodial accounts, you are the only owner of your account. Data portability, because you don't need for migrations, everything is tied to your wallet address and you can connect on different clients, bringing in all your followings, social graph, everything that you did. Permissionless innovation, because you can build services at your will on top of these protocols. Censorship resistance and moderation. Another interesting topic, because you cannot be banned from the protocol, but you can be moderated on the client side. So if I'm a client and I want to my user base to only talk about cats, and somebody is not talking about cats, I can blocklist their content, but that user is always able to send that message in the protocol, and other clients out there are free to list it. That's it. Thank you so much. Any question? Thank you. Yeah, so in the case of Farcaster, the name registry contract has some recovery mechanism. So you can set up recovery addresses and recovery policies at your will. And there's, it's very similar to how ENS works in around the name claiming. So yeah, if somebody gets them, you have a way to recover them. Or maybe if you lose them, you can recover it. No
Thank you so much, Limone.
Look.
Oh, one more.
Where can we learn more about your sick hackathon project?
On my Twitter, on my Farcaster actually. On Farcaster, yeah, on Farcaster I will publish the project tomorrow.
I have a feeling we're going to see you one more time on the stage before this event is over.
No.
Maybe.
We Italians are scaramantic.
Not
You say scaramantic?
as a part of the conference. I have a feeling there is no event that I've been to that he hasn't won. So I'm not saying that I know he's going to win, but I have a feeling. I don't know. Let's see.
Question there.
How about, listen, we have a happy hour right now, and you can talk to Limone during it.
Happy to answer.
We're serving wine outside. You're free to join. Thanks. This is the end of the first day. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.